आप ही बोलो.
Yes, ma'am.
Rahul,
Today,
Rahul,
yes, ma'am.
welcome to this presentation of Life Care Center, which is focusing on how to build up a good practice for yourself and how to become a good RMO and how to become a good casualty medical officer. So, Dr. Rahul is going to speak today on ECG made easy. ECG made easy. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Today we shall discuss about ECG and its basics. And frankly, ECG is a very huge topic. So when anyone starts reading ECG, it becomes cumbersome, and no one is able to grasp like how to read ECG. So after understanding this presentation today, it's gonna be a bit long presentation, but I won't say that you will be able to understand ECG fully, but you'll get a basic idea and you'll understand how to approach ECG. So next time you open any standard book to read ECG, it'll become very easy. So myself, Dr. Rahul Jain, and these lectures are happening under the guidance of Dr. Sharda Jain and Life Care Center. So let's move on to the topic. So we'll be discussing about the introduction, leads, some terminologies, placement of the leads. From there, we'll see some cases and we'll understand how to interpret them. So what is ECG basically? So from this image, it's depicted, it is an electrical camera. So basically, we are trying to take picture of electrical system of heart from different perspectives. So each and every lead corresponds to one angle of from where we are taking the electrical picture. So this is the first thing which I want everyone to understand, that when I talk about 12 lead ECG, each lead corresponds to an angle. So there is only one basic wave of ECG, and that is being interpreted in different angles. So this is the first thing. Then coming to what is ECG, basically ECG is electrocardiography or electrocardiogram, and we are basically recording the electrical activity of the heart, and we are trying to check the heart's rhythm and activity on a moving strip of paper. So coming on to leads. So there are 12 leads in ECG. So each lead, as I discussed, corresponds to different angle from where we click the different picture of different electrical activity of the heart. So please understand each and every word, because if we are able to build upon this, then it becomes very easy. So there are 3 types of leads. There are chest leads, limb leads, and augmented leads. So first of all, the chest leads see the heart in horizontal plane. So if we see the heart, we can either see it in horizontal plane or we can see it in a coronal plane. So there are basically different planes in our body where we divide the body into different parts. So for heart, there is coronal plane, we see limb leads and augmented leads, and for horizontal plane, we'll see chest leads. Okay. So coming on to coronal leads first. So if this diagram summarizes the whole thing, and it is supposed to be remembered as it is shown. There is no formula or method, or this is just a standardization we say. So I'll start with first lead 1, 2, 3, which are the most relevant leads. So if you can see the heart is in center, then lead 1 corresponds to 0 degree angle. And lead AVF is directly 90 degree to it, perpendicular. So lead 1 and AVF are very relevant, and we'll understand their relevance a little later. So lead 1 is 0 degree, lead AVF is 90 degree. Then we have lead 2 and lead 3. So lead 2 is towards the, I can see it's towards the left side, and lead 3 is going towards the right side. So one more point I would like to add here is normally our heart is situated towards the left side. This is normal orientation. So lead 2 is the most reliable lead because it is in the line of heart. Then we have augmented leads. So AVF is towards the foot, that is 90 degree to lead 1, and we have AVR and AVL. AVL is towards the left limb and AVR is towards the right limb. And AVL and AVR are basically in the 30 degree angles from the horizontal. So this much only, and then V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6 are in horizontal plane, also is being shown in the figure itself, and they both are in different planes. So AVL, AVR 1, 2, 3 and AVF are in different planes, and V1 to V6 are in different planes. One is coronal plane, one is horizontal plane. Then one more thing is, when we place leads on anyone's chest or when we measure ECG, any electrical activity towards the lead will be considered positive, and any electrical activity away from the lead will come as negative. So negative wave and positive wave, that's how we interpret. Okay, so then coming on to basic ECG structure. So this we are reading since our 11th, 12th classes also, and even in our MBBS, this basic, so PQRS, TU, that's how we study. So each and every wave corresponds to something. So since we are talking about normal mechanical heart and coming to anatomy also, we have two atria, two ventricles. The first atria will contract, then ventricles will contract, and then the whole heart will relax. This is the basic cycle. So same thing, it happens in the same order. So first is P wave, which is represents atrial contraction. Then there is little gap in between the atrial contraction, ventricular contraction, because it doesn't happen one after the other. It happens after a slight gap. So this is PR segment, and with wave it becomes PR interval. Then there is QRS, which corresponds to my ventricular contraction, and then it is the ventricular relaxation. So one logical question which will come in everyone's mind at this time is this, that the contraction is positive wave, that is very logical and understandable, but why the relaxation is also positive wave? The concept we read, through that concept the relaxation should have been a negative wave, but it is not. The reason is normally in the heart, when we see, there are three layers: endocardium, myocardium and epicardium. So when I say contraction, the contraction always happens from endocardium to epicardium, the direction, but the relaxation happens opposite. It is epicardium to endocardium. So basically two opposites cancel each other. So it's relaxation and it is happening in opposite direction. That is why it is positive wave. Even if relaxation was happening in the same direction of contraction, that is endocardium to epicardium, then it would have been a negative wave. But it happens in opposite direction, and it is the relaxation. So two opposites cancel each other, and it is also a positive wave. So I hope this is clear till here. Then coming on to next. So when we take ECG, so first is what is the standard?
ये QR interval क्या हुआ? जैसे PR interval है ये हाँ.
Ma'am, next slide में है ma'am. We'll come to it. For now, what is important is P wave is atrial contraction, QRS ventricular contraction, T wave is relaxation. Relaxation of heart, ventricular relaxation. So then coming to standard speed. So when we are seeing ECG, the recording speed is 2.5 centimeters per second or 25 millimeters per second. So when this ECG, each box is 5 millimeter into 5 millimeters. So basically when I say 25 millimeter per second, which means there are 5 boxes each second. So we are measuring, the strip will consume 5 boxes each second. This is a standard speed, and it will be same everywhere we take ECG. So for 5 boxes gets covered in 1 second. So when I talk about one small box, that is this box is 5 millimeters. In that also there are very small boxes. So one small box corresponds to 0.04 seconds.
Correct.
And within height it corresponds to 0.1 millivolts. And this is something which needs to be understood right here itself, because it makes the base for everything in future. So I'll just repeat it again so that it gets cleared. So the standard speed of ECG recording is 2.5 centimeters per second, and horizontal in the x-axis it represents time, and in the y-axis it represents the voltage. So x-axis, if it is 2.5 centimeters per second, so the 1 millimeter corresponds to 0.04 seconds. The calculation is 1 by 25. So each small box corresponds to 0.04 seconds, and each big box corresponds to 0.04 into 5, which will be 0.2 seconds. So And then again, if we see 5 boxes, it will come to 1 second, and that is what's happening, 5 boxes per second. So I hope it is clear.
जी आप मुझे 5 बॉक्स का जरा दिखाइए, ये 1 सेकंड जो होता है, ये 5 बॉक्स कौन से दिखाइए, एरो से दिखाओ.
हाँ मैम, 1 2 3 4 5.
4 5, that's it, 1 second.
So
That's right.
these are 5 boxes. These are 5 big boxes, and inside these 5 big boxes, I can see there are small boxes also.
Correct.
So when I talk about big boxes, each big box corresponds to 0.2 seconds. So 5 boxes will correspond to 1 second.
Correct.
So that's how. And if each big box is corresponding to 0.2 seconds, so in that big boxes there are again 5 small boxes. So each one small box will correspond to 0.04 seconds.
Correct.
So this is something to be mugged up and remembered, and the concept is also in front of us. Then coming to heart rate. So how to calculate heart rate from ECG? So this is a very interesting thing. So first of all, if it's a regular rhythm means that P is followed by QRS followed by T. So that means it's a regular rhythm, and the duration between the P QRS is constant. So in this ECG, I can see that there is regular P QRS T, P QRS T, P QRS T. It's clear. So what we have to do is we have to take two QRS waves. So between the two QRS, we need to calculate how many big boxes.
Correct.
So, ma'am, how many big boxes you can see?
4
Just divide them by 300. So, what is the number we'll get? 75. So, for this ECG, the heart rate will be 75. So, this is the way we calculate heart rate. So, there are multiple methods, but the most commonly used method is you count the number of big boxes between the two RR intervals, two QRS waves, and then divide them that number by 300. So
300
suppose
divided by boxes. 300 divided by boxes.
Yes, ma'am. So if there are 4 boxes, so 300 divided by 4 becomes 75. So for this ECG, the heart rate is 75.
Correct.
And if it's irregular heartbeat, then take a 10-second strip, count the number of QRS, and multiply it by 6. Basically, we are just seeing QRS represents number of times heart has contracted. So we will just calculate the total number of QRS in 1 minute, basically through the second method. So take a 10-second strip, calculate the number of
1 minute ke 10 seconds.
Ma'am, when we take ECG, we will take it for only 10 seconds.
Irregular होगा तो आपने लिखा QRS complexes in 10 seconds.
हाँ जी मैम. So जब हम ECG
एक सेकंड 4 बॉक्स का हो गया. 1 सेकंड 4 बॉक्स का हो गया.
नहीं मैम, 5 बॉक्स का हो गया ना.
हाँ.
25 millimeter per second था, and each box is 5 millimeters. तो 1 सेकंड में 5 बॉक्स हो गया, और 10 सेकंड के अंदर 25 बॉक्स हो गया. तो
1 सेकंड में कितने बॉक्स हुए?
मैम 1 सेकंड में 5 बॉक्स हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि एक बड़ा बॉक्स 5 मिलीमीटर का है.
ठीक है.
और 25 मिलीमीटर पर सेकंड की स्पीड है. ठीक है मैम. तो जब हम ये फर्स्ट 300
सेकंड में कितने हुए?
10 सेकंड्स में मैम 25 बॉक्स हो जाएंगे. तो अब हम जब ECG लेते हैं तो 25 सेंटीमीटर का ही ECG लेंगे. नॉर्मली जब भी आप ECG देखेंगे तो 25 सेंटीमीटर बड़ा ECG का स्ट्रिप होगा. तो उस 25 सेंटीमीटर के अंदर we will see that how many QRS complexes are present, and then that is the number of contractions in 10 seconds. So to get in 1 minute, we have to multiply it by 6.
Correct.
So this is the second method. So, but the easiest method is box counting method. So take 2 QRS, see the number of boxes in between, and divide it by 300, and then we'll get the average heart rate.
Correct.
So moving on to heart rate is done. Then moving on to placement of leads. So I'll just describe it. So this AVR, AVL, and AVF and 1, 2, 3 we have already discussed.
Yes.
That they are basically the limb leads, and we have the electrodes and we place them on the limbs. But when we talk about V1, V2, V3, V4, V5, V6, basically V1 and V2 are put on right and left side of fourth intercostal space, and V4 is put in fifth intercostal space mid clavicular line, V5 on anterior axillary line, and V6 on mid axillary line, and V3 is put in between V2 and V4. So this is just for nurses who are putting the ECG leads, and then after they put the ECG lead, when we get the so again the same point comes that it is the camera, it is a different angle. So I can see in this figure, if I'm trying to see the inferior wall of the heart, so what are the three leads which are taking the picture from inferiorly? Lead
3, AVR 2.
Yes, AVF and lead 2. So inferior wall of the heart.
2 and 3 and AVF.
So if I am seeing some changes in only lead 2, lead 3 AVF, which means कुछ problem है inferior wall में.
Correct.
Okay, ma'am. Then same thing in this figure. I can see that lead 1 is towards the left side, and then AVL also and V5, V6 also. So if I'm seeing predominant changes in only these 4 leads, then I know some problem is there in lateral wall of the heart. And similar way, V1, V2 are for septum, and V3, V are for anterior wall.
V1, V2 is for septum, and anterior wall के लिए कौन सा है?
V3, V4.
V3, V4. ठीक है, done.
So, ma'am, of something which we had, if you recall our MI video, myocardial infarction video, there we have read something called as ST elevation MI or ST
Correct.
depression or something like that. So, if I am seeing only ST elevation in lead 2, 3 and AVF with troponin markers elevated, then I know it is inferior wall MI.
ठीक है.
So, that's how we see. So, I hope the significance and placement of leads are clear.
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
And heart rate is also clear. Then coming on to what is the difference between segment and interval. So
अब एक छोटा सा ये बताइए कि एक बार दोबारा लीड लगाने का तरीका बताइए. इंटरकॉस्टल कौन सी स्पेस लेते हैं?
For V1 and V2, it is the fourth intercostal space.
फोर्थ, ठीक है.
So sternum के right side और left side पे V1 और V2 लगा देंगे. Fourth intercostal space. Then
sternum के राइट साइड और लेफ्ट साइड पे, ठीक है.
Yes, ma'am. So then V4, V5, V6 are in fifth intercostal space in mid clavicular, anterior axillary, and mid axillary line.
ठीक है.
ठीक है. And then V3, V2 और V4 के बीच में लगा देता है, middle of V2 and V4.
ठीक है.
ठीक है. So then coming on to when do we use the word segment and when do we use the word interval?
Correct.
So this is very important. So we can, when we are using the word segment, it means that it's an isoelectric segment.
Correct.
Which means it is on the baseline. So when I'm saying ST segment, which means the ST segment is the does not include any wave, and when I say interval, it means segment plus wave. So when I'm saying PR interval, it means I'm including the P wave also. And when I'm saying PR segment, I'm not including P wave.
Correct.
So now we see here. So PR interval is beginning of P to the beginning of QRS. So when I'm saying with the word interval, it becomes P wave plus the isoelectric segment. But when I'm saying PR segment, which I can see here, is
minus
only
wave.
the segment, yes, minus the wave. So after the P wave ends, and before the QRS starts, that segment is only PR segment. So this much. This is the significance of calling it PR segment and PR interval. And now one more very important is RR interval. So RR interval is basically
peak है.
R and R. Yes, and one more thing which is very important is QT interval. So it is from the beginning of Q to the end of T.
बिल्कुल ठीक.
Okay, so yes, these three are very important. PR interval, PR segment, and we need to know what is the difference between segment and interval. Then coming on to each wave. So we will just understand P wave, QRS, ST and all those things individually, and then we'll move on to cases. So coming on to P wave. So P wave, we commonly, when we want to see any problems of P wave, we will see lead 2 and lead V1. So there's they show characteristically P wave normality. So basically P wave is for right atrium and left atrium, right? So when I talk about P wave in lead 2, the P wave obviously is like like this wave, and the first half of P wave. So there is one more figure I have put here. The first half corresponds to right atrium, and the second half corresponds to left atrium.
Correct.
So this is the first thing. So normally the height of P wave in lead 2 is less than 2.5, even in height and even in width. So if the height or width will increase, then I know there is some pathology either with right atrium or left atrium.
Okay.
Then when I see lead V1, I see that this P wave becomes biphasic. So when this when this V1 becomes biphasic, the upper half corresponds to right atrium and the lower half corresponds to left atrium. So if there is only problem with upper half, then I know it is right atrial pathology. And if there is only problem with the lower half of, then I know it's a left atrial pathology.
Correct.
Then one more thing from this diagram only, when I'm seeing lead 2, when there is right atrial pathology, it will be the height which will get affected. And when talking about left atrial pathology, it will be the width which will get affected.
Okay.
So again a summary. So when I'm talking about right atrial enlargement, it will be the height which will increase. And when I'm talking about left atrial enlargement, it will be the width which will increase in lead 2.
Correct.
And same thing in V1, it will be the positive deflection which will increase, because positive deflection corresponds to right atrium, and it will be the negative deflection in left atrium. So same thing. And then we can multiply this thing. We can calculate the area of the covered by the right atrium and left atrium, and then if it's more than these values, then we can say objectively from the ECG that it is the right atrial enlargement. Then yes, just one again. Same thing. So right atrial enlargement, it's the height which is increasing, and left atrial enlargement, it is the width. So it becomes like a M. And in lead V1, it is the upper side which will become enlarged in case of right atrial, but in left atrial, it will become the lower part which will increase.
Okay.
Clear, ma'am? Very clear?
बिल्कुल.
Then coming to PR interval.
I repeat again. इसमें जो lead 1 है, वो lead 1 में आपको right and left आएगा, और आपके lead 2 में ऊपर और नीचे आएगा. ऊपर is right, नीचे is left. और ये जो lead 2 के अंदर जो है वो width दिखाएगा और lead 1 में height दिखाएगा. और इसी तरह से आपकी सारी pathology पता चल जाएगी. Clear है?
About the atrium.
Yes, atrium.
Then after atrium we have PR interval. So PR interval means P wave plus PR segment. Right, we have already discussed this. Then the normal width is 0.12 to 0.20 seconds, 0.2 seconds. So I'll just come here again, just revision small. So from atrium to ventricles, then we are talking about conduction from atrium to ventricles. There is an isoelectric segment. But why there is isoelectric segment? Because there is something called as AV node in between the atrium and ventricle.
Okay.
So that AV node, with electrical conduction of heart, will revise again in the PPT. So when this AV node will cause delay. So this PR segment basically is responsible for this delay. So it basically gives me activity at AV node. So P gives me activity about atria, and this PR segment gives me activity about AV node. So PR interval is basically clinically, if it becomes big, I know that AV node is blocking more. So it's clinically significant in AV node block. And we have Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome and Levine syndrome. Those syndromes not very relevant for our discussion today, but just mention them and it will become smaller in these syndromes. Then coming on to QRS complexes. So again, the same diagram will come in the picture. So I can see that from this diagram that V1 is towards the right side of the heart, while V6 is towards the left side of the heart.
Correct.
So when I'm seeing some pathology in QRS segment on V1, I know it is something related to my right heart. And when I'm seeing some QRS pathology of left side in V6, then I know it is a pathology of left heart.
Left side. ठीक है.
Yes, so left side, so same thing. So when to look at right ventricle, I will look at V1, and for left ventricle, I will look at V5 and V6. And
Okay.
normally it is 2 to 3 millimeters, or I can say half the small box,
Half of a small box. ठीक है.
half of the big box. Sorry.
Big box.
Yes. So if I'm saying tall QRS,
Big box plus पांच box.
yes, ma'am. 5 small boxes, one big box. So when I'm saying tall QRS bade. So why will those QRS will be tall? Because the contraction is happening more, and the contraction will happen more in case of left ventricular hypertrophy. It will happen under the thin adults. Why thin adults? Because the electrical leads will be nearer to the heart because they have very thin chest wall. So it will appear as more, but it won't be more. Then athletes, obviously, they have a good ejection fraction, and the heart contracts better than non-athletic. Then low QRS people, low QRS waves. Why? Because of the same concept that when the leads and the heart, the distance will increase, then the voltage will be detected lower. So in case of anasarca, hypothyroidism, there is pericardial effusion. So that effusion will will increase the distance between the chest leads and the actual heart contracting inside the pericardium. So effusions, emphysema, same thing. Even obesity, the chest wall will be thick. So the obesity, the chest wall will be thicker. So again, we'll get low QRS, even though the heart will be normal. So we need to interpret these things accordingly. Then coming to morphology of QRS. So when we are understanding QRS, the most important thing is to name the QRS. So once if we can name the QRS correctly, then we can diagnose the pathology. So this whole figure looks very complicated, but the naming the QRS is the simplest thing. We consider the first positive wave as always R wave, and then if any wave is negative before it, we call it Q, and after it, we'll call it S. So we'll give an example. So let's talk in this case. So in this case, there is only first one positive wave, so we'll call it only R wave.
Correct.
In this case, there is first wave, positive
QRS.
wave is 1, and then afterwards there is so only RS. There is no Q. There is only negative wave following the R wave. Then in this case, it is the first positive wave, and then afterwards there is S waves. And the S is more in amplitude, so that's why the S is capital and R is smaller.
ठीक है.
And then, ma'am, just one more we'll discuss. In this, we'll have a positive wave R, and then we have one negative and one afterwards negative, so QRS. So now, how is this relevant is, we'll come to this one. So we have something called as RSR dash pattern. So we have two positive waves and one negative wave. So it becomes RSR dash pattern. So this RSR dash pattern is, it looks like a M. Right?
ठीक है. M.
So it is called as Marrow pattern, and basically it is seen in right bundle branch block, and we have something called as William pattern. I will discuss with the bundle branch block, but it becomes relevant there. So this much. Then coming to ST segment. So ST segment is an isoelectric segment, and we know, so the clinical significance is obviously the ST segment elevation in myocardial infarction, which we have already discussed. Then we have something called as saddleback ST. So it looks like a horse saddle. So seen in Brugada syndrome, and when people on digoxin, it looks like a hockey stick. Also called as reverse stick sign.
ठीक है.
Then T wave. So T wave, there are multiple complicated explanations for T wave. How I consider it, how I'll see it is this: that T wave represents to relaxation, and it is a upright positive wave. So in cases where there is a concentric ventricular hypertrophy, which means that there is concentric ventricular hypertrophy. So there is the heart is not able to relax well. So in those cases, the T wave will become opposite. And in cases of dilated cardiomyopathy, where there is relaxation, there is no problem in relaxation. There, the T wave will become upright and even more taller. So, T wave represents relaxation, and in the conditions where relaxation is easier for the heart, like dilated cardiomyopathies, the T wave will become taller, and in the conditions where there is relaxation for the heart becomes tougher, like concentric ventricular hypertrophy, the T wave will become inverted. So, tall T waves are also characteristic sign of hyperkalemia and also myocardial infarction. So, acute tall T waves. So, any patient, if I detect tall T waves, the first thing which should come to my mind is hyperkalemia and not any cardiomyopathy. Because hyperkalemia is an emergency, it can cause sudden cardiac arrest. So, I need to treat it and address it. So,
पहले हाइपरकलेमिया सोचिए और उसके बाद सेकंड कॉज कार्डियोमायोपैथी सोचिए, क्योंकि कार्डियोमायोपैथी बहुत कम रेयर है.
Yes, ma'am. And hyperkalemia is very common, and even diabetic ketoacidosis patients might have some potassium abnormalities.
ठीक है.
So this much only about T.
ये आपने बताया इन्वर्टेड टी की बात है. इन्वर्टेड टी इज हाइपरकलेमिया और कार्डियोमायोपैथी. ठीक है.
Then coming on to corrected, we have something called as corrected QT interval. So we need not focus much on it, because every time we take a ECG, the machines calculate it for us and it gives us. So something correct. So we need to just check that it is not elevated. The correct value is it should not be more than 0.44 seconds. So if it is more than 0.44 seconds, I should become very alert and I should look for ventricular arrhythmias in this patient, because any patient with elevated corrected QT intervals are prone to go for ventricular tachycardias and even polymorphic QTs. So those are again fatal to the patient. So this is about QT interval. Then coming to axis. So basically, what does the word axis mean? It is the resultant vector of the whole heart. So normally, since our heart is inclined towards downwards and towards left side, then in this direction, right? If I'm seeing a person from front, the heart is towards the normal, wherever the normal in this quadrant is. So this is the normal axis. So, but when there is left axis deviation, that is LAD, the heart basically becomes so hypertrophic in the left side that the resultant vector starts going towards in this quadrant, and opposite in case of right axis deviation. So how will we calculate is, it's very simple. So in normal axis, the lead 1 and lead AVF both will have positive waves.
Okay.
And in left axis deviation, the AVF will have negative and lead 1 will be positive, and AVF and 1 and opposite in case of RAD. So how to remember this? So to remember this, we have to understand this diagram. So if we recall that I just go back again to this image. This image. So this image again is the most important image of the whole thing.
आपने बताया था कि जो लीड 1 है वो स्टर्नम के राइट साइड में होगी, लीड 2 स्टर्नम के दूसरी तरफ होगी, और लीड जो एक्सिलरी की तरफ जाएगा, सबसे किनारे वाली लीड है, वो V6 होगी. क्लियर?
Ma'am, those are V6. Those are chest leads. We are talking about leads. Lead 1, 2, 3 are different, and these are limb leads. And we are talking about right now limb leads, not the chest leads.
Okay.
So when I talk about limb leads, so lead 1 is towards the left side, and lead 2 and lead 3 are inferior. In AVF is towards the foot.
Okay.
So lead 1 is towards the left side. So now this was the normal which we had studied, that lead 1 is towards the normal side. So suppose this side is left side and this side is right side, and this is superior for the patient and this is inferior. So lead 1 and lead AVF, normally we know. Ma'am, this is when we are seeing the patient from front. So on the screen, lead 1 positive is towards the left side and lead positive AVF is inferior. So lead 1 negative will be on the opposite side and lead AVF negative will be on the up side. So if in lead 1 I am seeing negative, so I will go towards this quadrant, and I am seeing lead AVF positive, then I will go towards this quadrant. That's how we have to follow. So in case both are positive, the resultant quadrant is this one, which is normal. And if lead AVF is negative and lead 1 is positive, then the quadrant becomes this one. Do I need to repeat it, ma'am?
नहीं, मैं हम लोग ज्यादा परेशान नहीं होंगे, मैं और नमिता, क्योंकि ये सब बिल्कुल हमारी ईसीजी मशीन में सब करा कराया आता है बेटा. बस ये होता है, हमको ये पता होना चाहिए कहाँ पर हमारे को स्पेशलिस्ट की कंसल्टेशन लेनी है, और मोटा मोटा पता होना चाहिए क्या चीज क्या बात कर रहा है.
ठीक है मैम. So basically, ma'am, the thing is, if both are positive, then it is normal in lead 1 and lead AVF. If lead 1 is positive, lead AVF is negative, then we go for left axis deviation. And if lead AVF is negative and lead 1 is positive, then it is right axis deviation. That's all is important.
Okay.
Then we have different deviations. So there is left axis deviation, right axis deviation. So for left axis deviation, so the important thing is there is inferior wall MI, there is left anterior fascicular block, even left ventricular hypertrophy. For right axis deviation, there is right ventricular hypertrophy and lateral wall MI. So important is that if I'm seeing left axis deviation for a patient who does not have hypertrophy and has chest pain, then I can suspect there is might a possibility of inferior wall MI. And there will be other signs on ECG as well, but I need to just keep this in mind. And for right axis deviation, it is the lateral wall MI. Then I'm talking about right ventricular hypertrophy. This is the criteria that when I say right ventricular hypertrophy, and this is the objective criteria, but the basic thing which we will see is that in case of V1 and V2, I can see tall waves, and they are bigger than V6. Normally, the taller waves are in V6 and V5 because the left ventricular heart mass is more than right ventricular heart. But in this case, I can see that there is right side is more. So this is the example of right ventricular hypertrophy. And if we see one more thing, we will see in this diagram. Ma'am, can you point it out if the lead 1 QRS is predominantly positive or negative?
Lead 1 is QRS component में इसका जो QRS ज्यादा नीचे गया हुआ है.
Predominantly negative.
So ma'am, it is negative, and in AVF it is positive. So when AVF is positive and lead 1 is negative, then I will just come back to this diagram. It is right axis deviation. So the diagnosis becomes right ventricular hypertrophy with right axis deviation. In this case, then coming on to left ventricular hypertrophy, this criteria I have mentioned, it's called as Sukoloy-Loin criteria. Actually, there's a specific name for it. And then coming to this, I can see that V5 and V6 there are tall QRS.
Correct.
And V1 there is inverted QRS. So that's why. So then one more extra thing, lead 1 is positive here. And lead AVF is negative here.
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
So again coming to this diagram, when lead 1 is positive and lead AVF is negative, it is left axis deviation. So diagnosis becomes left ventricular hypertrophy, and I am seeing left axis deviation. Then coming to some questions I have put.
मतलब ये डायग्राम सामने रखना है.
So ma'am, if you want to just try for heart rate in this case. Lead 2, which is given below, is the most reliable. So the tall lead 2 is given, the long lead 2 is given.
देखिए इसके अंदर आपके 5 बॉक्सेस के अंदर जो भी है कितनी वो आ रही हैं उसको डिवाइडेड बाय हम लोगों ने 4 करना है. 5 बॉक्स में कितनी आ रही है? 5 बॉक्स में 5.5 में आ रही है. एक ही बॉक्स 4 बॉक्स में एक लीड आ रही है.
Or ma'am, we can just do this, that we can calculate the number of big boxes between the two RR waves and then just.
हाँ. तो ये 3 आ रहे हैं.
हाँ तो.
So there are 3 big boxes. So
RR के बीच में 3 आ रहे हैं. तो क्या कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे?
300 divided by 3.
अच्छा 300. ये ज्यादा आसान है. RR ज्यादा बेटर है. R के बीच में जितने बॉक्स आएंगे 300 डिवाइडेड बाय 3 कर दो, खत्म.
बस सिंपल है मैम. तो इसका हार्ट रेट 100 है एंड एक्सिस के देखेंगे तो 1 नेगेटिव है और AVF पॉजिटिव है, तो 1 नेगेटिव एंड AVF पॉजिटिव इज
So there should be right axis deviation.
करेक्ट. एंड एक्स्ट्रा थिंग इज V1 और V2 के अंदर पॉजिटिव वेव्स दिख रहे हैं,
बहुत बढ़िया.
है ना. V5 V6 में से बड़े हैं वो.
Yes. So right ventricular hypertrophy.
हाइपरट्रोफी है विद हार्ट रेट 100. ठीक है. देन यू वांट ट्राई दिस क्वेश्चन. क्लू भी दिया हुआ है एक क्वेश्चन के अंदर.
V6 में बहुत ही टॉल
इसमें
R
आ
weights
रहा
है.
है.
हाँ, कितना होगा अप्रोक्सीमेटली? इट इज ऑलमोस्ट 2.5 boxes.
Yes.
So 300 divided by 2.5.
और V1 में और V1 में V6 में भी आपको रिवर्स टॉल. मालती क्यों नहीं सुनाई दे रहा?
Hello.
हेलो.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you're audible,
हाँ जी,
ma'am. So
सुनाई.
lead
हाँ.
1 is positive and lead
Positive and AVF is negative.
हाँ जी, so it
So there
becomes
should be left axis deviation.
correct. So it is a left axis deviation, and we can also see that there are tall waves in V6, inverted
So
waves in
left.
V1.
Yes. So left ventricular hypertrophy.
Yes, with almost the thing is 2.5 boxes, so heart rate may be around some 130.
Yes.
ठीक है.
So coming on to fascicles and normal electrical conduction. So basically, first there is SA node, then from SA node it goes to AV node, and from AV node it travels down in the form of bundle of His, and then it divides into two, right bundle and left bundle, and then left bundle again divides into two. So this is the normal, and then we have something called as bundle blocks. So we might have something called as right bundle branch block. So the whole right bundle gets obliterated, and we have left bundle branch block where the whole left bundle gets obliterated. We have only specifically left anterior fascicular block and left posterior fascicular block. So how to detect these in the patients? First is right bundle branch block. So ma'am, we have discussed the mnemonic marrow. So in marrow, it is a standard mnemonic. So there is R in center. So it is for right bundle branch block. So for V1 it will be M. So RS R dash pattern, and for V6 it is like a W. So when I see RS R dash pattern or like a M in V1 and I'm seeing a W in V6, then I call it right bundle branch block. So okay, then in case of left bundle branch block, it is opposite. So in V1 I will see like a W, and V6 I'll see a M. So it becomes a William pattern. So William, the center is L, and the V1 is W, and V6 is M. Okay, ma'am. So
ठीक है.
then coming to left anterior fascicular block. So basically this left anterior, and one more thing, ma'am, in this case, the QRS becomes broad in both the cases. Right bundle branch block also, left bundle branch block also. In both the cases, slow हो जाता है, तो QRS will become broad. So when the QRS becomes broad, the normally QRS is basically half the big box. So it becomes more than half the big box.
Correct.
So that is the first cue also, so that it is a bundle branch block. So then when I talk about left anterior fascicular block, so left anterior fascicular block behaves as left anterior fascicular block behaves as left axis deviation, and left posterior fascicular block behaves as right axis deviation. Even though there is no right ventricular hypertrophy, it will behave as right axis deviation, and also there won't be any features of right ventricular hypertrophy. So this is that's how we conclude diagnosis in case of ECG. So first of all, right bundle branch block and left bundle branch block are clear. You can use the
Yes.
Marrow and William. In left anterior fascicular block, we'll see this image. So this there is the QRS is of almost normal width, and I don't see any kind of hypertrophy. I don't. Yes, ma'am. So the blocks can be associated with infarction. So that will come to later. But for detecting the block, we just need to see that there is no hypertrophy, and there is but there is left axis deviation. So since this is a left, so how it is left axis deviation? Same thing. So lead 1 positive and lead AVF negative. Okay, ma'am. So coming on to left posterior axis, posterior fascicular block, again, there is no hypertrophy, like it is almost normal. That is V1, V2 showing negative waves and V4, V5 are showing positive waves. But lead 1 is showing negative wave and AVF is showing positive wave. So it is right axis deviation.
Okay.
Okay, so again we can make a diagnosis of left posterior fascicular block because there is right axis deviation without any right ventricular hypertrophy. Okay, so now I've just added little quiz. There are 4 distinct and possible answers are out of these 4 only. That is either it is right bundle branch block, left bundle branch block, right axis deviation or left axis deviation. So to detect this, the first thing is the QRS width broad or not? So from V1 I can say it is broad.
Broad, yes.
So there are 2 possibilities if it is broad.
Block है.
Either it is
Block.
right bundle branch hai or left bundle branch block. So this looks like what? Marrow or William?
ये तो मैरो लग रही है.
This looks like an M.
So this is a right bundle branch block.
Okay.
Okay. Then second one, first of all, am I seeing narrow QRS or broad QRS? I think it's
QRS.
quite
Broad.
Quite broad, more than half definitely. So the
हाफ से ज्यादा है.
Hanji. So this is either right bundle branch block or left bundle branch block, and I can see that it looks like more like a William pattern. Actually, marrow is easier to identify. Normally, William won't be seen.
William pattern.
So this is left bundle branch block. Then coming on to now the 2 which are left are either left anterior fascicular block or left posterior fascicular block. So I don't see any kind of deviation. So left anterior fascicular block we'll need to find out the axis in this case.
Yes. So lead 1 is negative and AVF is positive. So it should be right axis deviation.
नहीं दोनों पॉजिटिव है नॉर्मल.
नहीं मैम lead 1 में if we can see that the negative component is more than the positive component. Yeah.
अच्छा. Right fascicular.
So ma'am, it becomes when it's right axis deviation, which is seen in case of right axis deviation in case of left posterior fascicular blocks. So then last diagram here I can see that there is no hypertrophy, but there is what kind of deviation?
There is AVF negative. So there should be a left axis deviation, so it should be left anterior fascicular block.
Correct. So yes. So this is only about this much about blocks. Then coming to normal ECG. So this is just a normal ECG. So why I have put this? Because I want everyone to distinguish between this and this. So basic thing which this is the ECG which we should never miss in our clinical practice, and if we miss this ECG, then our patient will be in huge trouble. So basic main finding in this ECG, first we'll start with heart rate. So what is the heart rate in this case?
हार्ट रेट में 2 आर के बीच में जितने वो हैं, तो आपने 2 आर के बीच में 3 है, तो इसका 100 रेट है ऊपर वाले का.
Correct, ma'am. Correct. So then from normal, the only thing which I see very distinguishedly different is that my ST segment is elevated. So
Correct.
It is elevated in V2, it is elevated in V3, and it is elevated in V4, and also some part in V5, but not in V6. So now we need to remember that V2, out of V, so V2, V3, V4, V5. So in this, V3 and V4 were which part of which walls?
मुझे बताया था अभी आपने, एक मिनट रुको. septum. ये था anterior.
So it is anterior wall ST elevation myocardial infarction. So ST elevation is seen in myocardial infarction. So it is responsible involving anterior wall mainly. So it becomes anterior wall MI. Okay, ma'am, clear?
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
Okay, ma'am. Then I will just in the end I will cover some arrhythmias which are also very important and how to differentiate the basic arrhythmias. So the normal heart rate for human heart is 60 to 100. Anything less than 60, I will say bradycardia. Anything more than 100, I will call tachycardia. So when we study today, we'll not be discussing much of bradyarrhythmias because it is again a huge topic. It will be mainly tachyarrhythmias.
नहीं पता ना, हमें तो मोटा-मोटा पता नाम पता होने चाहिए बस.
हाँ जी मैम. So mainly when I see for tachyarrhythmias, my main goal is to determine that is it a supraventricular tachycardia or is it the ventricular tachycardia, which means that the origin of tachycardia, is it something which is above AV node or it is something below AV node. So anything which is above AV node will become supraventricular tachycardia, below AV node will become ventricular tachycardia.
Correct.
So supraventricular tachycardia mainly have three things. So there is SVT, which is supraventricular tachycardia, there is atrial fibrillation and there is atrial flutter. So when I talk about basically ventricular tachycardia, the origin is below the AV node, and ventricular tachycardias are more dangerous compared to supraventricular tachycardias. Then there is polymorphic VT.
More dangerous, नहीं बहुत dangerous.
Yes, ma'am. It is almost equivalent to. We have only hardly 1 minute time to save the patient. If the patient goes for ventricular tachycardia,
Correct.
it is equivalent to death. Then we have something sinus tachycardia, which is normal rhythm, but the heart rate is more. So in fever and all, we will see sinus tachycardia.
Okay.
So coming on to how to differentiate between supraventricular and ventricular tachycardia, the basic dictum is very simple, that supraventricular tachycardia there will be narrow QRS, and the reason is also very simple, that QRS represents ventricular contraction. So when the origin is above the AV node, there is nothing which is affecting the ventricular contraction. So the ventricular contraction will be normal. So
Correct.
We will see narrow QRS. And narrow QRS means normal QRS, which is equal or less than 2.5 big nerves. So in this case, ma'am, any heart rate you want to see? Calculate how
बहुत
much
ज़्यादा है, बहुत ज़्यादा है. मैं
it is one box.
Yes. So it should
One
be
box means 300.
300. Yes.
So this is and the QRS is narrow. So I can say it is supraventricular tachycardia, and I need to treat it. The reason is very simple. First of all, why arrhythmia is a problem to heart. So the most important thing is this we have already discussed in our MI topic, that heart receives its blood supply during diastole. So when the heart rate goes really high, it is the diastole duration which gets affected. So heart's its own blood supply is getting affected. So it can go for any time infarction, even if there is no this thing. If there is no arterial blockage, it can even go for infarction if this heart rate sustains for very long. So the treatment, which is the first thing which should be done, is carotid massage. So any patient we see and we don't have drugs, so we will instruct someone or some nurse to load IV adenosine 6 mg, and during the time she'll take 10 seconds or 20 seconds to load the drug, we will start doing the carotid massage. So we will basically we will palpate for carotid. How will we palpate for the carotid? In the midline of the neck, we will palpate for trachea, and just lateral to trachea, if we press, we can feel the pulsations, and we will start massaging the carotid, and that will stimulate the vagal receptors and will slow down the heart rate, and then we will give immediately IV adenosine 6 mg, so the tachyarrhythmia will come down. It's supraventricular tachyarrhythmia. When we talk about ventricular tachycardia, so the thing is, it is broad QRS and heart rate will be again really high. So in this case also heart rate is almost 300. I can see one box only in between.
ठीक है.
For ventricular tachycardia and even ventricular fibrillation, the treatment is shock, DC shock. So rapid defibrillation. Earliest we have to give to the patient. So even for ventricular fibrillation, we will do defibrillation. Then there's another entity called as polymorphic VT. It is the worst arrhythmia, and the drug of choice for polymorphic VT becomes magnesium sulfate. And so we can see there is no baseline. So the ECG is going up, down, and there is broad QRS. So again, it becomes ventricular tachycardia. This much only about the ventricular tachycardias, and that we should know the basic management, how to differentiate, and we need to give the goal-oriented therapy for each type. Then coming to bradyarrhythmias, where the heart rate is normally less than 60. So we have sinus bradycardia, junctional rhythms, and heart blocks, and they're usually managed by
Atropine देते हैं.
yes, ma'am.
Atropine देते हैं.
So atropine, and ma'am, you want to say the heart rate for this case?
इसका तो है आपका देखो 1 बॉक्स 2 बॉक्स 3 बॉक्स 4 1 2 3 4 5 6 तो 6 हो गए. तो 6 आपका 2 के बीच में 6 हो गए. तो इसको डिवाइडेड बाय 300 डिवाइडेड बाय 6 हो गया. तो देखो कितना हुआ.
50. So this is definitely bradycardia. But one more important thing is I can see that there is P wave, there is QRS wave, and there is T wave. So always the rhythm is maintained. So I will just call it sinus bradycardia, and it is not arrhythmia because the rhythm is maintained. The P is always followed by QRS, then T. While in this case, I have something called as junctional rhythm. There is no P only. We cannot see P. Because the rhythm is starting from junction only. So the P gets masked in the QRS. So I can only see QRST, QRST, QRST. So again, the heart rate in this case would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, heart rate is around 50, and it is regular, but there is no P wave. So finally, when I'm seeing a ECG, there are certain steps I need to follow. So to say that, okay, my ECG checklist is complete. So this checklist should always be in our mind, and we should always go through this checklist. The first thing is standardization. So standardization. So any ECG we will see this rectangular block before the ECG. So basically every time it should occupy the 2 blocks. If someone has set the standardization to small or big, we will see accordingly smaller waves, which will give us the false idea. So we need to see the standardization. If it has been set to higher or lower value, the standardization is 2 boxes.
Two boxes.
Then is heart rate. Then is rhythm. Then rhythm the P is followed by QRS and then T. Then it's PR interval. Then the QRS interval, if it is narrow or big, then we have already discussed where it is big and narrow. So the broader QRS we can see in bundle branch block, right bundle branch block, left bundle branch block, and I will see it in obviously all the ventricular tachycardia. So if the heart rate is really high, then I know that it is some kind of ventricular tachycardia. But if I am seeing William or Marrow pattern, then and with the heart rate normal or little less, like around 60, then I know it is a bundle branch block. Then corrected QT interval should not be more than 0.44 seconds. If it is more than 0.44 seconds, then we can see this condition called as polymorphic VT. So where the drug of choice is magnesium sulfate to stabilize the heart. Then we see electrical axis, that is either right axis or left axis. That also we have discussed. Then I need to see P waves, QRS and R wave progression. P waves and QRS we have already discussed. And abnormal QRS waves are pathological waves, and they are the markers of infarction. So once they occur in someone's ECG, then I can say then the person has gone, the heart muscle has already gone for ischemia. Then I need to see ST segment, any elevation, depression, or any saddle block deformity. That also we have discussed. In case of MI and non-ST elevation MI, will see depression. Or you can see T waves. T wave also we have discussed where it will be upright, where it will be depressed. Then in the end I will just see prominent U waves. If prominent U waves is for papillary muscle contraction, and they are the sign of hypokalemia or some drug toxicities. So this, I will try to finish the session. I've tried to cover mostly everything in ECG, and I hope it was very much clear. And if we want to refer any book, it will become very easier to now study ECG.
No, I think things are pretty clear. Okay, pretty clear.
Okay, ma'am. So, okay, ma'am. Then what to do for that?
सर अब ये मुझे बताइए कि अब आपका हम लोग आधे घंटे की